somehow human suffering affects me and matters to me. It's not, I cannot be indifferent to that. I simply can. So for me, a life when a new knowledge, experience of knowledge is based on tenderness, is developed. A life where more is not any longer the equal of good. A life of respect, a life of simplicity, the simplicity that comes after complexity, by the way. When I was 9, my parents divorced. And then life became very, very painful to me. That was not a trivial matter. But by losing my father, was for me unbearable. But then a question about justice began to show up for me very strongly. But I remember a suffering hit me as never did before. And like any visit to suffering, usually produces insights of different sorts. I begin to wonder. And because I came from a Catholic school, one of the explanations that I tend to give is that I may have done something wrong to deserve that punishment. So one day, in the middle of my pain, I went to a big square, and there was a church at the end of that square. I walked into the church was empty. So I was able to speak to God directly, and I said to God, why are you punishing me? What did I do? What have I done to deserve this punishment, this pain I'm having right now? No answer. And I said, if you don't answer me, then I cannot trust your fairness. And without an answer, I will not come back to the church. And no answer. So, by leaving the Catholic Church, I left my spirituality abandoned. And I recovered that only when I was 32. I remember exactly the moment when I did it. So today I consider to myself to be a very spiritual man, but I'm not religious in the traditional sense. What began to grow in me was an existential despair. I got to meet Humberto Maturana, the biologist, and we engaged in beautiful conversations. But what I realized was, and this is critical for me, that my approach to that, let's call it knowledge, was not an intellectual curiosity, it was an issue of my heart. I noticed that getting to know that stuff was a sense of healing of my soul. I remember at the end of that event, Fernando asked a question, what did you learn? And I said, I don't know. And he started crying. He said, you got it. I said to him, because it's a new learning, I have no articulation for it. I cannot speak about it. But that day, many things happened to me. I realized that there's a new way of knowing. I realized that knowledge was not just gathering information. I realized that the soul was involved as much as any other conceptual aspect of anything. My heart was touched. That day, my path was defined. I remember I was mute. And then I realized that I was responsible for the world I see. What I see is not independence of the seer. And that began to grow like a huge realization. From that day on, I dedicate my life to what I do. So I surrender to my love for the world, and without having to explain it in any other way, but rather a gift. Because the same thing that we surrender to gravity, why can I not surrender to love?